What the actual fuck happened to Kevin Holland? Look at this guy back in 2020. He was arguably fighter of the year. Definitely breakout fighter of the year. He was the top prospect in the middleweight division by far. Okay, absolutely putting shows. He was the king of the apex. Okay, it was him and Bobby Green. But then we fast forward to today, and this guy is losing to the likes of Roman Dolidze, and the only people he can seem to pick up wins against are low-level UFC competition. Now, to talk about how the downfall of Kevin Holland took place and how we've got to this point, I want to talk about when Kevin Holland was at an all-time high and the year where he became personally my favorite fighter. Okay, I'll be honest, he's my favorite fighter. He's my favorite fighter of all time. Okay, I'll be 100% real. But we're going to talk about the people. Let's talk about the good old days. And then we're going to go through how the downfall happened. Now, Kevin wouldn't join the UFC in 2020. He'd actually join in 2018. After winning Dana White's Contender Series, he would be offered a short notice fight versus Thiago Santos, which he would lose. But at this time, Thiago Santos was a top contender, so it wasn't that bad. After picking up 3 wins, losing to Brendan Allen, prime Kevin Holland was fucking coming. We hit 2020, and Kevin's first fight of the year would be May 16th. He'd fight Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, and he'd KO him in 40 seconds. 40 fucking seconds. Okay. And if you know anything about Anthony Hernandez, this win has aged extremely well. Okay. Anthony Hernandez at this point is kind of the dark horse of the, welterweight, middleweight division. Middleweight, I don't know why I said welterweight. So this was a very good win. Didn't seem great at the time, but it's aged extremely well. And then we have probably the best win on Kevin's resume. In August 2020, he'd fight Buckley. And Buckley is a top contender. Buckley could be getting a title shot next year, earliest, okay? Now, he would beat Buckley practically the entire fight before getting one of the nastiest TKOs, of the year. Absolutely laying him down with a right hand. Then he'd fight Darren Stewart, who he'd beat in a split decision. And then he'd fight Charlie Ontiveros, can't pronounce his name, in October, where he'd get another finish. Now at this point, Kevin in about 5 months was 4-0, and if he just got one more win in the year, he would tie for the most wins in a calendar year. Keep in mind, his first fight of the year was in May. Now he'd fight Jacare Souza, who he would KO within the first round. Now at this point, Kevin's 5-0, 27 years of age, getting all types of crazy finishes against decent names. This guy seemed like he had everything going for him, and at this time he'd even be beefing with Israel Adesanya. So the UFC would give him what was seen as a layup against old man Derek Brunson. 2021, as a Kevin Holland fan coming off the amazing year 2020, was fucking horrible. We start the year losing to Derek Brunson, and then 20 days later, losing to Marvin Vettori. In Kevin's next fight, he'd also get KO'd out cold, but it was with a headbutt, so it'd be a no contest. So at this point, Kevin's gone from getting 5 wins in a calendar year to, in his last 3 fights, all of his fights in 2021, being winless. Being completely winless. Now, he would bounce back for the first half of 2022, getting wins over Alex Oliveira and Tim Means. But while Alex Oliveira is a decent name, to be completely fair, both of these guys were at the bottom level of the UFC at this point. They were both pretty old. Alex Oliveira has been cut since. Tim Means, I'm pretty sure he's retired since then. Maybe he's still fighting. But next up, after this 2-fight win streak, Kevin would step in short notice to fight Hamzat Chimaev. And I think this was when the big shift in Kevin's career happened. Kevin, to just be honest, got absolutely fucking smoked in this fight, okay? He got smoked within 2 minutes. And I think Kevin realised something at this point. He wasn't ever going to be a champion. Okay, he'd stated before in the past that he hadn't cared about the belt and whatnot. But I think this really solidified the fact in his brain that he wasn't going to be champion. A whole new attitude would take over Kevin for the rest of his career, or at least up to now. His next fight would be against Wonderboy Thompson, which would be, honestly, an amazing fight where Kevin had his moments. But Kevin refused to take Wonderboy to the ground when he had plenty of opportunities. He had full mount on 2 occasions during this fight and refused to take it to the ground. I think Kevin stopped caring as much about his career and winning, and instead cared about trying to, you know, please the fans and give off this kind of mystique that he wasn't trying. Now, he would pick up 2 wins after this, but it'd be against Ponzinibbio or Michael Chiesa, who really aren't top level in the UFC at all. And then we get onto the Jack Della Maddalena fight, which will be a split decision, which I do think JDM won. But this was a close fight. But Kevin just didn't push it at all. Now, Kevin would be outclassed in the Michael Venom Page fight on the feet, but he easily outgrappled Michael Venom Page, but apart from one moment in the fight, refused to even try to get it down. And then after that, he'd fight Mikkel, Polish name, and he'd win there. But then he'd fight Roman fucking Dolidze. And yes, he lost due to injury, but I think 2020 Kevin Holland, to be honest, is powering through that injury. I think for the past 2 years, Kevin priorities have largely changed. I think he's realized that he will never be a title contender, even if he does genuinely have the ability to be a top 10 guy who can maybe squeak some wins against certain stylistic matchups at the top. And instead, it's trying to make that bag, which you can't hate on, but it's still something that I want to point out. Now, he's going to be fighting Reina de Ridder, who, you want me to be entirely honest, I think is fucking awful. I think Kevin will beat the fuck out of him on the feet. But with the Kevin Holland fight, I don't know what to predict anymore.